Japan plans to dump tons of radioactive material into the ocean.
A necessary evil, one official says, can't be avoided. Officials in Japan are saying that workers at the Fukushima nuclear plant will have to dump radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean.
They say water contaminated with low levels of radiation will have to be ditched to make room to store highly radioactive water, which is now leaking from the number 2 reactor. Japan's chief cabinet secretary says the decision was unavoidable. Workers are trying to deal with a crack in the reactor's concrete shaft.
Let's go straight now to Martin Savage, who is in Tokyo for the latest on the nuclear plant crisis. Martin, how serious is this?
It appears to be pretty serious, and this announcement came just a little over an hour ago, and it came from the government spokesman basically saying the TEPCO, the operators of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant, want to dump 11,500 tons of low-level radioactive water, that's how they describe it, into the ocean as soon as possible. Now, the reason they want to do this is to make space, make room on land for much more highly radioactive water that they would like to store. As you point out, the government says it's regrettable, but they have to do it. In fact, here's how the government spokesman put it.
Both are contaminated with radioactivity. Even though it is radioactive, it is unavoidable to have that water released to the sea. In order to ensure the storage of the contaminated water in the surge tanks needs to be released to the sea, as well as unit number 3 and 4.
It's no secret where this water has been coming from. As we know, for weeks they've been pouring water from hoses and from fire trucks onto the reactors to try to keep them under control, try to keep them cool. Well, all that water has to go somewhere, and it's gone just about everywhere. The problem is it's filled up all available storage tanks. It's also gone into places they don't want the water, into the basements of turbine buildings, into the basements of reactors. It's also gone into electrical cable tunnels. And those are all areas that employees have to have access if they want to eventually try to fix this problem and get the regular pumps online. So they've got to get that radioactive water out of those areas. They've also got to try and bring that leak of very radioactive water that's going into the ocean from reactor number 2, get that under control. So that's what this is all about. Basically, make space, get rid of the low-level radiation water, save up for the highly radioactive water. Zane?
Martin, for the average person, though, when they're hearing that, this quantity of low-level radioactive water is going to get dumped, is it going to affect them? I mean, is it going to affect the food chain and eventually be dangerous to people?
Well, and that's the first thing that comes to people's minds. When you hear that significant release, and even though they say it's low level, and we do not know what the radiation levels are and what they consider low, it has to raise some concern. This is going to be dumped immediately off the coast. It's not like it's going to be taken far out to sea. Up until this point, they've said, look, we're talking about radioiodine, which is iodine-131, that has a very short half-life, and that's not expected to pose any major health concerns to either people or to sea life. But there's also cesium in there, and that is a whole different animal and could potentially pose a real health problem. So, unfortunately, I haven't got the answers for you, Zane. At this point, the government doesn't seem to have the answers for what most people really want to know. How dangerous is it to have such a large release?
Martin Savage, thanks so much.